All right. Let's go ahead and dive right into it. Hello, what's up, and salutations, everybody. Name is Joey G, host of the first episode of the Miscellaneous Show. Now, look, I'm going to go ahead and be for real with everybody right out there right now. When it comes to me, I'm all over the place. There's so many things I'll really go ahead and enjoy and love, you know what I mean? Got the anime, baseball for sure. We got the little basketball going on, Marvel comics. You name it, there's just so many things. So sometimes it's kind of difficult to go ahead and actually wrap my head around everything that's out there and things I really go ahead and enjoy. So, in these episodes, not gonna lie, we mostly probably go ahead and focus on certain things, especially throughout the day, whether it be maybe a Marvel announcements like what was going on over in San Diego Comic-Con. Go ahead and dive into some animes as well too, especially One Piece, man. Let me tell you, shit's getting popping right now over in One Piece for sure, especially after chapter 1189. With Luffy basically getting pinned up to that Atom tree by Emu. God, they ain't fucking around right now, man. Oda out there really cooking. Let me tell you, he goes ahead and puts everything literally in front of us and tells us exactly what he's going to do throughout his messages, right? So somebody went ahead and actually caught something actually really interesting. So to anybody out there that goes ahead and actually enjoys reading like the mangas, you go ahead and you notice that every time on the covers he'll go ahead and he'll draw either a fan favorite or something that somebody went ahead and asked to go. But in this cover for 1189, he has a see no evil, speak no evil, and hear no evil monkeys representing Zoro, Luffy, and Sanji. And somebody pointed out, which is actually phenomenal too, that on each and every single one of those monkeys, you go ahead and actually see some type of damage to them, right? So what they're concluding at that point is that we are going to see that type of damage, or Zoro, Sanji, and Luffy basically get to the brink of death. I mean, we kind of see that with Luffy right now after Emu went ahead and pinned him towards the Atom Tree. So now we're going to go ahead and see whether Zoro or Sanji are going to suffer a similar fate to their captain. Obviously, Zoro being the right-hand man and Sanji being the left-hand man. Kind of makes a lot of sense, right? So things are really heating up in that Elbaf arc right now. And let me go ahead and tell you something right now. The one person I think is definitely going to have the major upgrade is definitely going to be Usopp. Usopp is definitely going to go ahead and have that major upgrade, because I feel like Oda has been leading up to this for a while now when it comes to Usopp. So, way back when One Piece first went ahead and started, we had Luffy we had the whole crew meet up with the Giants over in Little Garden. So obviously at that point in time, they had no idea who was there in Little Garden. So boom, here we go. And Luffy and Usopp go ahead and meet the Giants, Broggy and Dory respectively, right? So initially for the five, Sanji, Luffy, Nami, Zoro, Sanji, and Usopp, they all had their own particular dreams when they were entering the Grand Line, right? So Luffy obviously wants to be king of the pirates. Zoro wants to be the greatest swordsman ever. Nami wants to go ahead and draw a map of the world. Sanji wants to go ahead and find the All Blue. And Usopp himself wants to be a brave warrior of the sea. So here we go. We get to the Little Garden and they meet the Giants. And just seeing and knowing the reasons why the Giants were fighting at that particular time for honor, not backing down, it really inspired Usopp, because that's how he wanted to be, because he wants to be that brave warrior of the sea. Now let's fast forward to Elbaf. Okay, specifically right now in chapters 1189, we have this one panel where it looks like Usopp is getting some type of hockey observation. Not gonna go ahead and say he's probably seen the future. Maybe it might be a different type of observation hockey that Oda is introducing that we may have no idea what it is as of right now. I think this is the time where Usopp is really going to shine and he's going to go ahead and save the captain. So currently right now, we actually had a final panel where Gavin is actually the one who's fighting Emu currently, or is about to end up fighting Emu currently while Luffy is pinned to the Atom Tree. So, with that being said, I think this is the point where the old Usopp dies. And what I mean by that is this cowardly version of Usopp ends up dying. Not necessarily Usopp himself, because there was a lot of speculations, a lot of theories out there, right, that Usopp was going to go ahead and die in the Elbaf arc. I think there is some credit to that. Not going to go ahead and lie. However, though, I don't think it's Usopp, the character himself, who actually is going to end up dying. What I think, my personal opinion, is the old version of Usopp, this coward version of himself, is what's actually going to go ahead and end up dying. And then you're going to see a new type of Usopp go ahead and arise, a more braver Usopp. And that goes ahead and I think fits extremely well into the whole overall concept. And it'll be a full circle moment for Usopp becoming finally this brave warrior of the sea. Because again, initially that's what he has wanted to do, and that's the reason why he set out to sea, is to become this brave warrior. So now being Elbaf, I believe out of all of them, we're going to go ahead and see the conclusion of Usopp's story in the sense of him, or the reason why he went out to sea. Okay. So, again, I don't think he's actually going to end up dying, because I really don't see Oda killing any of the Straw Hats off. I really don't. As much as an emotional factor it may go ahead and actually be, if he decided to do something of that nature, I don't think he will. I really do believe that what's going to happen is that Usopp's cowardness is going to go ahead and basically washed away and be destroyed, and this brave warrior of the sea is going to go ahead and emerge. And you think about it here, the Straw Hats are about to go ahead and face the king of the world, right? Emu. So to have somebody like Usopp, who's normally known as the coward, but yet always steps up in the most critical of moments, I think that's what we're going to go ahead and see. So I'm going to have to believe that one of the panels is definitely going to be something along the lines where maybe Gavin is getting effed up by Emu, and the moment Gavin's about to go ahead and basically have his life and to get murked by Emu, Usopp is probably going to go ahead and hit him with something from a long distance, because, obviously, sniper, just like his pops, Yasu. So there's that. Now, the one thing I will go ahead and say is, even once the Elbaf arc actually went ahead and started, I did not think that getting to Laugh Tale was going to be the end-all, be-all in One Piece. I really didn't. So I always felt, and it's good that Oda basically went ahead and confirmed this fact, that the final arc and the ending of One Piece was always going to have to do something with the world government, especially with it being destroyed or taken down or revamped in a new way. I don't know if a lot of individuals out there really thought that Laugh Tale was really the end-all, be-all. By the time the crew gets to Laugh Tale, finds the One Piece, that's it. End of story. Yeah. I never thought that was the case, because I always felt that the world government was definitely the enemy, and obviously Oda just kept building that up. We've seen it through all the arcs, especially that had the world government involved, whether it was the arc of Imperial Down or Enies Lobby, when they went ahead and tried to basically throw Robin in prison. So the world government, I always felt, was the end-all, be-all in One Piece. It wasn't really finding the One Piece and things of that nature. So it's actually kind of good to go ahead and see Oda confirm that basically after Elbaf, the crew is going to get to Laugh Tale. So I'm guessing they're going to go ahead and get that final roll polyglyph that leads them to Elbaf. And a lot of stuff now is coming out, right? So now we have, in the last chapter, in one of the panels, we had Shanks basically saying that Emu's preparing for war. And everybody was stating that things weren't the right time. Reason why it wasn't the right time is because I feel like everybody was basically waiting for Luffy to get on the scene. Now, am I saying particularly it was Luffy himself? No. But they were waiting for somebody of Luffy's caliber. And one argument I'm going to go ahead and pose out there right now is that I always felt that Luffy or the Gunfu or Nika itself is the actual One Piece. And let me go ahead and actually explain on my side the reason why I believe Luffy himself or the powers that he has is the One Piece. So, the one defining thing about One Piece in itself that Oda keeps reiterating over and over and over again is the concept of freedom, right? Cool. So we hear that quite often. I mean, we have that famous line from Raleigh when he meets the crew for the first time in Saudi Obi. He asks Luffy, "Do you have what it takes to rule these mighty seas?" Luffy looks at him for a minute and goes, "What? I don't want to rule anything. Being king of the pirates is about being the most free." There we go. That concept of freedom is there. And we see that throughout. And now, obviously, knowing this lore about Nika, the sun god, and what he represents, and he appears when people want to be liberated, aka freed. Now he's in play. You see where I'm going at? It's all about freedom. And then also think about all the individuals that Luffy has helped throughout his entire journey with his crew. He has freed their countries from tyranny, oppression. There's so many you could go ahead and state. You got Alabasta, Dressrosa, Wano. All these countries were oppressed by either a pirate. Well, basically it was all pirate because in Alabasta you had Crocodile. In Dressrosa you had Doflamingo, which I think is one of the greatest villains in the One Piece world. I really do, man. I love me some Doflamingo. I ain't gonna lie. And then obviously you had Kaido over in Wano. Now I'm pretty sure I'm off the top of my head. I'm missing something. But the whole concept of freedom has always been there. Damn, that's some good coffee. So with that being said, and also thinking about all the individuals Luffy has met throughout his entire journey in the sense of tribes, and then seeing that mural by Frankie, you see all of these different tribes come together. And basically what Oda's hinting is the final war. You got the Minks, the samurais of Wano, you got the fishmen. Basically, all individuals that Luffy has met throughout his journey. And he's had them on his ship. I mean, obviously, you have Jinbei, a fisherman. There's that connection right there. Remember when they had Carrot on this ship during the Whole Cake Island incident and during Wano? So Luffy has already met all these different tribesmen. And then we go to the Ririeri where Shirahoshi, Rebecca, and Vivi are all speaking about Luffy. Here we are, 3 princesses speaking on Luffy. So Luffy, I feel, was the one piece that was missing to unite everybody, to finally take it to the world government. So I think that's something we're going to go ahead and see in Laugh Tale itself, where we're going to figure out that I never thought the One Piece was a physical treasure. Never did. You know, I know there's a lot of people out there who believe that the One Piece might be like a physical treasure, things of that nature. I never really thought that. I really think basically Rogers went ahead and psyched everybody out. Because at the end of the day, you know, even like in real life, we go ahead and we think about piracy, we think about treasure, gold, this, that, and the third. All right, cool, bet. So I think Roger knew all this, and he knew the best way to actually go ahead and get people out to see. Because once he got to Laugh Tale and he figured it all out, you know, he knew he had to be the catalyst in one way or another. So he was like, yo, what's the easiest way to get people or to start the golden age of piracy? Just saying, but like, yo, everything that all this earthly desires, this, that, and the third, I left it at the last island. Go find it. And everybody here thinking it's like a big ass treasure. Now, did Rogers know it was going to be Luffy? Probably not. But obviously, he knew that it was going to be somebody that was going to come out from this pirate era that was going to go ahead and take it to the world government and bring the dawn back into that world. Essentially, one piece that was missing to take on the world government. And if you also think about it as well, right? Think about some of the ancient weapons that Oda has gone ahead and spoke of. Uranus, Pluton, Poseidon. He's basically kind of already met them all, essentially. Because Luffy has met Shirahoshi, which is the ancient weapon Poseidon, right? He has Frankie on his ship, the guy who had the blueprints to build Pluton. And now apparently Loki has something to do with Pluton itself now, because apparently his ancient giant blood is connected to that in one way or another. And I really do believe that Loki is actually going to end up being part of Luffy's crew. You know, because that's the one thing that he's missing, a giant. Now, how Oda is going to go ahead and pull that off, you know, because I can't go ahead and imagine this big-ass giant on the Thousand Sun. It's just like, where's he going to fit? You know, how's the ship going to sink? I actually think that Frankie is going to definitely upgrade the Sunny in Elbaf, and I think he's going to bring it close to that version of Pluton. I really do think that the Thousand Sunny and the Pluton is going to be connected in one way or another, in the sense that Frankie already has the blueprints right here in his mind, right? So he has all that already in essence. So now knowing that and having the Atom Tree at his disposal, he's definitely going to upgrade that Thousand Sunny to the max, just to go ahead and take on the armada of the world government. Like, I don't think there's any ifs, ands, or buts about that one in particular, honestly. Man, that's some good stuff. El cafecito aquí, man. So, it looks like Elbaf might be the final upgrade for all these Straw Hats. Whether it be in the sense of their power or the Thousand Sunny getting an upgrade. And I'm going to tell you something right now. I can't wait for that final war that Oda's actually cooking up with the world government. And I really do think by the end of it, he's going to have certain Navy individuals by his side. You know, because Oda doesn't go ahead and tease his things for no reason. You know what I mean? So over in God Valley, you had Rogers and Garp, right? Helping one another to go ahead and defeat Rocks. And I think you're going to have something similar within that final war, where it's going to be Luffy and Cody and Kobe versus Blackbeard. Because if you really think about it, Kobe has beef with Blackbeard. Luffy has beef with Blackbeard. And here's the thing too. Luffy has no idea about his grandpa as of yet. He has no idea that his grandfather is a captive of Blackbeard. Matter of fact, doesn't know that there's even a possibility that his grandfather is dead. Now, when is Oda gonna go ahead and hatch that and reveal that? No idea. Is he gonna reveal it after the Straw Hats get away from Elbaf? Is he gonna reveal it once they get to Laugh Tale? Don't know. But I think it's going to be a trifecta in that final war where it's between Luffy, Blackbeard, and the world government. I think that's the direction that we're heading right now, currently. I really do. And it's going to be sick. It really is. Like, I can't wait for that fight between Monkey D. Luffy and Marshall D. Teach Blackbeard. I really can't. You know, it's going to be phenomenal. Now, really thinking about it all, who knows what the final chapter count is going to be, right? Well, when it comes to One Piece, I mean, shit, we're already at 1,189. Could it easily hit 1,500 before the series end? Probably. You know, I know Oda has always been out there saying that he wants to go ahead and end the One Piece within a few years. I think, 5 years ago, he said he wanted to end it like in 4. I mean, there's just so many loose ends. So many storylines to go ahead and tie up that I really can't see it ending that soon. Shit, it might be another 10, 12 years in all actuality. Especially the way that Oda has been teasing this final war. So there's that. So, man, I can't wait to go ahead and really see that. And there's just so many ways that he can really go. But the main thing I want everybody to go ahead and take from this is that I do truly believe that Luffy is the One Piece. The One Piece that was missing to unite everyone to go on and take on the world government. So once again, here on the Miscellaneous Show, be for real with you, going to be jumping from topic to topic. We just here chit-chatting, you know, spewing out my opinions on certain things. And that's some of my opinions on what's going on within the One Piece world. Now I want to talk about what's going on with Marvel. So here we had San Diego Comic-Con, and obviously over in Hall H, we had the unveiling of the next phases of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So here's the thing. When it comes to Marvel in particular, for me anyways, number one character for me has always been Spider-Man. Ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Honestly, I'm very excited to see what Brand New Day has in store. And obviously with, you know, Frank Castle, the Punisher being in there, that interaction between Spider-Man and Frank Castle is going to be fucking phenomenal. And I also love the fact that we're actually going to go ahead and get a Spider-Man Deadpool movie, because to anybody who enjoys reading those comics, man, the way Spider-Man and Deadpool go back and forth with the quips, oh man, it's chef's kiss. And look, Tom Holland, phenomenal Spider-Man. Ryan Reynolds was born to play Deadpool. So that on-screen chemistry, you know, is going to be amazing. Now, whether they get along in the back, you know, behind the curtain and things of that nature, that's a completely different story. But as long as they could go ahead and bring that relationship to life on the big screen, man, people are going to eat that up. For sure. They really are. So I really can't wait for that Spider-Man Deadpool movie. And honestly, somebody was joking. It was like, yo, congratulations, Tom Holland. You're probably going to be playing Spider-Man till you're 90. And you know what? That could be a possibility, just like how Hugh Jackman going to be playing Wolverine till he's 100 years old. And now knowing that we finally have the X-Men unveiled, now we're going to go ahead and see if they're going to recast a younger Wolverine. So I kind of feel like that's really the direction that they're going to go, because at the end of the day, they really think the actress Sadie is playing Jean Grey in Spider-Man Brand New Day. And you know what? It is a possibility, right? Because at the end of the day, there have been so many times where people have actually hit on what's going to happen in the film or what characters these individuals were playing. For example, when Spider-Man Homecoming first came out, Zendaya was basically announced that she was in the movie. A lot of people thought she was playing MJ, right? All right, cool. She kept denying it. And that's what everybody in Marvel who plays a Marvel character or is part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe does. They deny. Even if we right. You know, it just kind of makes sense. So they deny. All right, cool. Then what ends up happening? At the last scene of Homecoming, she basically tells Tom Holland's character, Peter Parker, like, oh yeah, nah, just call me MJ. Everybody was like, bro, we fucking knew it. We knew it. And yes, we knew it. We knew that she was going to play MJ because, of course. You know what I mean? It was just there. So I think people are actually correct on who Sadie's playing. And we kind of sort of got introduced in the Marvel Cinematic Universe to the mutants early on in the Miss Marvel series for Disney Plus, right? Because remember, at the end of that series, when her friend came up to her, I forget what the guy's name was, but basically told her, like, listen, the reason why you're able to go ahead and use those bangles is because of mutation in your genes. So that was kind of like the first time where it actually introduced in the Marvel Cinematic Universe to the mutants. And then obviously in the Marvels, we have just Monica Rambeau's character in that alternate universe, and then we got the Beast. Right, we also had it, right, and I think we also had some scenes in Secret Wars about that as well too, if I'm not mistaken. But that one I'm not 100% sure on. And now, with the X-Men being revealed for the next phases, it just makes a lot of sense that Jean Grey is being played by Sadie in Spider-Man Brand New Day. Because if you really think about it, Spider-Man himself is a mutant. Hey, Primavera, how you doing? Hello there. Thank you for the likes. I greatly appreciate that. Hopefully you're enjoying. So I really do believe that she is playing Jean Grey, especially if you look at the premise of the movie itself too, with the mind games being played and all, and this, that, and the third. It makes a lot of sense. But again, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's just all the actors and actors are always just going to deny. My favorite video game. So that one's kind of difficult. Honestly. My favorite franchise to play is definitely Final Fantasy. So I guess favorite video game of all time is Final Fantasy VII. You know, I really do enjoy playing a lot of RPG games, so there's that. But Final Fantasy VII is definitely my favorite for sure. Go, let me guess, is that your favorite as well? But yeah, definitely. Oh, nice. Okay. I could probably go ahead and take some guesses. What is it? Aerith? Tiff? Oh man, but let me tell you, I'm actually really excited for the final part of Final Fantasy VII to come out. Yep, yeah, I kind of figured. Hey, listen, not bad character to be named after for sure. It's really not, you know. But yeah, definitely Final Fantasy VII has always been my favorite video game, for sure. But going back to the topic of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so Spider Man is one of my top favorite characters. However, though, I've always been more in supernaturals, comic and heroes. So Ghost Rider and Doctor Strange are up there when it comes to the DC Universe Constantine. So when Ghost Rider was finally announced, I was happy, souped up. Oh my goodness. I was like, finally, we're getting another Ghost Rider. Yeah, Brumania, Glazer, yeah, nah, for sure. Those are, again, like, I really do gravitate towards a lot of the supernatural characters, for sure, hands down. So here's the only thing about this. I know, obviously, it's been revealed that Ryan Gosling is playing the Ghost Rider, and I know that's something that he's personally wanted to go ahead and do. He's wanted to portray that character for a while because, according to him, that's one of his favorite characters as well. Awesome. It really, really is. And I remember talking with my best friends because there was always rumors of a Ghost Rider movie coming out. And it just makes a lot of sense, especially in the direction that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is going, right? Because at the end of the day, you had, thank you for the follow. I greatly appreciate that. It's definitely a lot more content to come. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Love. So, when we saw in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you had the fact that everything that was going on in the Guardians of the Galaxy, so you had the space portion of it all. Then you had the things that were going on in Earth's portion. Then you had the supernatural going on with Doctor Strange. So I always did feel that all that was going to go ahead and collide eventually within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And at the end of the day, when it comes to the MCU, I always felt that Galactus is the end-all be-all. And obviously, he was introduced in the Fantastic Four as well. So I always had this feeling that eventually Ghost Rider was going to appear, especially during that end credit of the Eternals, where you had the Black Knight being introduced and obviously Blade as well too. And it actually kind of sucks that the Blade movie is in limbo at the moment because I believe they're wasting Mahershala Ali's potential. I think he will be a phenomenal Blade for sure. So it looks like they're gearing up to go ahead and do the Midnight Suns, which was composed of Ghost Rider, Blade, Wolverine at the time. And again, it just makes a whole bunch of sense, right? Because we're getting the Ghost Rider movie. Blade was already supposed to go ahead and come out. And now, as well, too, we have the reboot with the X-Men. So it's all leading towards that. So with that being said, I remember talking with my friends. We talked about that we figured that this is the direction that Kevin Feige was going because now he has the rights, or at least his studio has the right to all these characters in essence. And it was always that debate. Oh, who's going to play the Ghost Rider? And everybody was saying Ryan Gosling. For me personally, I'll be for real, I didn't want Ryan Gosling to play the Ghost Rider. And this is why. I don't know if call it bias or whatever the case may be, but just seeing him in a whole bunch of romantic movies, I just never felt that he could play that type of role. Now, however, though, I will go ahead and say this. I could be totally wrong in that aspect. I really can. Because at the end of the day, when Captain America first came on, I saw who they chose to play Captain America, Chris Evans. I was just like, there's no way that this dude could go ahead and play Captain America. I was even speaking to my wife about this the other day too, and she kind of made a good point where he physically he looked like Captain America. You know what I mean? But just because somebody looks like the character doesn't necessarily mean they're going to go ahead and play that character well. So I was always concerned with Chris Evans playing Captain America because I remember, right? Right, Glazer? True, right? Because I always remember Chris Evans as like the funny dude in a lot of these movies, like Not Another Teen Movie. Even when he played Johnny Storm in the original Fantastic Four that came out from the Fox Studios, if I'm not mistaken, he was funny, whimsical, comical. So I never thought he could actually play that serious type of role that character that Captain America is. But boy, was I totally wrong. Phenomenal. Like, perfect casting. I didn't think it was going to work. I really didn't. Even if he physically looked. Again, there's some actors that were just born to play certain characters. Like, for example, Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, Tony Stark was the best casting ever. Because not only did he play the role well, he looks like Tony Stark from the animated series of the 80s. Like, legit. That's crazy. Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. Phenomenal. Right? So, let's take this back to Ryan Gosling. I could be totally wrong. And he could definitely play an amazing Ghost Rider. He has that capability for sure. Now, whether it's going to be true or not, no idea. I really don't. You know, because again, sometimes it's difficult to disconnect certain actors from certain roles. Because unfortunately, certain actors get boxed in the sense of like, oh, you can only play a superhero genre or a romance or horror. You know, sometimes for certain actors and actresses, it may feel as if they can't venture into other roles. Like if they're always in horror, it might be difficult to see them in something romantic. Vice versa. Or if they're always playing somebody in a romantic movie, now in the action. So as much as I really love Ghost Rider as a character himself, I never wanted Ryan Gosling to portray the character, but this is where we are now. Okay? And all I'm hoping for, honestly, is a good movie. I really am. And the thing that I always loved ever since I was younger, and I really enjoy watching on TV series or movies, are crossovers. So now, because all the interactions for one, because could you imagine the type of interaction between Steve Rogers and Deadpool? And again, now having the Deadpool Spider-Man movie come out, that type of interaction that they're going to have on screen. Like, I always love that interconnection with everything. And again, now with Kevin Feige basically having all the Marvel characters under him, he could pretty much go whatever way that he wants with this right now. And that's the beauty of it. Again, I really do think that Galactus is the end all be all. I really do believe that. And who knows, maybe now in Doomsday and then going into like the Secret Wars, he's probably trying to prepare everybody for Galactus. And I'm pretty sure after Doomsday, you're going to see something on the lines where now all the characters are going to be in one universe. Kind of reminds me of the DC Infinity Crisis, where eventually the multiverse ends up dying. Now you have this one new universe, and I think that's kind of sort of where Kevin Feige might actually end up going in that direction, to try to consolidate everything, you know, because I'm going to be interested to see how they intertwine everything together, in the sense of like, all right, so if mutants were always in the MCU, why have they been hiding for so long? You know what I mean? Or is it now that because we were introduced in the multiverse in Spider-Man, or was not No Way Home? Was it No Way Home? Oh, well, the third edition. The title is for whatever is elusive right now to me, where all the Spider-Man villains from the multiverse were actually coming to his because they were being tracked. They were trying to find Peter Parker. And then obviously in the Marvels, we had the multiverse mentioned again. And then obviously in the Loki series. So it's known. So now the interesting part is to see is how Kevin Feige is going to go ahead and bring all this together. Right? Is there going to be like some type of cataclysm that brings it all together? Are they gonna stick true to the comics? You know, I am going to enjoy watching as well actors who portrayed certain characters come back, like Ian McKellen as Magneto. You know, the original X-Men from like the 2000s, those actors coming back. So it is going to be interesting to go ahead and see. It really is. And then also, you know, being unveiled is in Hall H. Obviously, we getting finally another Shang-Chi movie. Let me tell you, that first one was phenomenal. Like that, yeah, it was amazing. And then, honestly, that scene between Shang-Chi and Gambit that they keep showing looks like it's going to be a good fight, too. I'll tell you, Doomsday is going to be good. And I can understand people's frustration and worry in the sense of having Doctor Doom be the big bad. Now, here's the thing, right? So, I understand that he didn't have that Thanos level build up. And, you know, I'll give people that complaint. Like, I get it. But let's just be for real. Doctor Doom is a big bad in the MCU. Alrighty. I mean, he's defeated Thanos easily. He's brought the Avengers to their knees plenty of times. Obviously, the Fantastic Four, like, there ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it that Doctor Doom is a true big bad in the MCU. And I'm gonna be for real with you. Honestly, I feel sometimes that the reason why the Fantastic Four are relevant is because of Doctor Doom. It's not because of the Fantastic Four in particular. It's because of Doctor Doom. So he is a big time baddie. He really is. But I understand the concern of not having that type of build up, and now we're just going straight into Doomsday. Now, this is more of a personal opinion of mine, but I think that Kevin Feige had to pivot in this direction after the whole Jonathan Majors scandal. I really do. Because I think the way he wanted to go. So again, remember, I think Galactus is the end all be all. I think the way that he wanted to go was Thanos, Kang the Conqueror, Doctor Doom, and then Galactus. I think that's the route that he wanted to go. But when the whole scandal with Jonathan Majors ended up coming to light, it was just like, now we have to go ahead and pivot. And that's exactly what he did, you know, and it sucks. I'm not gonna lie, you know, because there's definitely more to Kang than meets the eye. And honestly, I felt like in the third Ant-Man, they really didn't do him justice. Because let's just be for real, I really can't see somebody like, as much as I do like Ant-Man, because I love the whole concept that obviously, you know, going into like their universe being able to shrink and this, that, and the third. I really do enjoy all that. And I like Paul Rudd. I really do, as an actor. Ant-Man ain't being Kang. I mean, come on, let's just be for real. Especially the type of level that Kang's at, ain't no way. Ain't no way that Ant-Man will hold his own against Kang. Kang is a Avengers level threat villain, just like Doctor Doom. He really is. So it sucks that everything went down the way it did. It truly does. It really does. You know, because there was just so much potential with Kang and his court, especially how he was being introduced as the next big bad. But it is what it is. Kevin Feige went ahead and pivot. I think also now he's trying to rectify the course. So whatever original plans he had, I think he's trying to bring that into fruition. But he may have had to tweak certain things here and there. But we'll go ahead and see how Doomsday ends up playing out, and I'm really looking forward, honestly, to Battle World and all. I really am, because I remember watching that show when I was younger, and that series, and that arc in particular, where they did bring him to Battle World, and Spider-Man had to go ahead and bring some of these, characters together, and it was fun. It really was, and it would be nice to go ahead and actually see the heroes versus certain villains. Like we could go ahead and see the Red Skull come back. You definitely Magneto, which I think they already went ahead and said is part of Doctor Doom's crew. So it should be fun. It really should. Doctor Strange is another one that I'm really looking forward to, because again, Doctor Strange is definitely one of my favorite characters. Again, I'm really like into the whole magic aspect of it all. Glazer, so with Spider-Man Brand New Day, what am I hoping for? Honestly, that's a good question. So the movie hasn't come out yet. It actually comes out Friday. I'm gonna go with my best friends to see it on Saturday. So again, Spider-Man is definitely one of my favorite characters for sure, without a doubt. Right? So with that being said, what I'm hoping for is obviously the continuation of a great franchise. No, number one. Number two, I'm really looking forward to, as I was stating before, I think the actress Sadie is playing Jean Grey. So what I'm looking forward to is a hint of the mutants being in the universe. And what I'm also really looking forward to is that on-screen relationship between the Punisher and Spider-Man. Like, from some of the stuff that we've gone ahead and see already in the trailers, it looks like they have phenomenal chemistry with one another. And I like that, because especially in the comics, it's just funny, the banters that go back and forth. And obviously it's two different ideologies in the way that they handle things, right? Knowing how the Punisher is no mercy, the murders, the brutality, compared to Spider-Man. So that is something that I want to go ahead and see. And I'm actually hoping that Peter Parker gets remembered again. Now, if that ends up happening, does that mean that now the multiverse is back in play? Because remember, in that third Spider-Man movie, when Doctor Strange made everybody forget, he made everybody forget that Peter Parker was Spider-Man, so he could go ahead and stop the villains from coming from other universes into his. So now, let's say if people start to remember that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, does that open up the multiverse again? And does that lead directly to Doomsday? Who knows? And the one thing for sure, there's speculations that Daredevil is going to be in the movie. And I think he is, quite frankly, because he was already introduced, right, in the Spider-Man movies when he was Peter Parker's lawyer. Remember that one scene where somebody tosses a brick through the window and then Daredevil just basically go catches it like that, and Peter asked him, like, how were you able to do that? Yeah, exactly. And not only that, we also need to remember as well, too. Like, even though it was in the Netflix and they didn't really consider it canon in the MCU, Daredevil and Frank, they already know each other. And not only that, too, if you've actually watched the show in Disney Plus, they've met each other again. So it's not hard to imagine that if Frank Castle, the Punisher, is a brand new day, that Daredevil won't be in there. And if it's true that if the villains are truly the Hand that Spider-Man is facing, Daredevil already has faced the Hand, especially in the Netflix series. Because I know it's not considered canon in these MCU and things of that nature, but I think they're trying to make it canon. We had the Defenders who ended up taking on the Hand. So if the Hand is truly the villain that Spider-Man is facing, it just makes sense that Daredevil will be in there. It just does. Because everything is there. You got Frank Castle, the Punisher, the Hand. It just makes sense to have Daredevil. And the one villain that I do want Spider-Man to go ahead and face is definitely the Kingpin. Because he's faced him quite often in the comics. Because when it comes to the Kingpin, he's fought Spider-Man, Daredevil, the Punisher. So it's all tying up together nicely. Now, will we go ahead and see the Kingpin in this movie? I don't know. Quite frankly, I do hope that. I think there will be more Spider-Man movies for sure with Tom Holland. Absolutely. And I would hope that the Kingpin is one of the villains he ends up facing. I really do. I think Vincent D'Onofrio plays a phenomenal Kingpin. Ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about that one. So there's definitely a few things that I'm hoping for when it comes to Spider-Man, but the biggest thing, I'm just hoping for like another phenomenal movie. And I think we're going to go ahead and get it because the first three have been phenomenal. And Tom Holland does play a good Spider-Man. Can't take that away from him. Now, it also looks like they kind of sort of may want him to like lead like the new Avengers. We'll go ahead and we'll see about that. You know, because at the end of the Thunderbolts, we obviously get a hint that some new Avengers are around. In essence, that Sam Wilson has gone ahead and brought the group back together. So we'll go ahead and see about that. So I think we're in for a wild ride, honestly, for the next few years. And going back, especially to Ghost Rider, right? And interactions between characters. I can't wait to see the interactions between Ghost Rider and the Punisher. The reason being is I remember reading a comic with the Punisher and the Ghost Rider in it. It was specifically a Ghost Rider comic as well too. And so the Ghost Rider has this thing called the Penance Stare, right? So basically what the Penance Stare is that he goes ahead and he stares into the soul. He goes ahead and stares into the souls of his victims, and he makes them relive the pain and the horror that they have caused to their victims. So there was this one scene which I hope gets played in the movie between the Punisher and Ghost Rider, where Ghost Rider tries his pen stare at the Punisher, and it didn't work. And Ghost Rider is actually taken back, and he's just like, "Wait, hold up, timeout, flag on the play. Why is this not working on you?" And Punisher basically tells the Ghost Rider, "Because I don't feel no remorse for the people I killed." Yeah, Glazer. It didn't work. Exactly. So that scene, to me, when I first read it, I was just like, oh shit. That was my initial reaction, because that was the first time that I ever saw the Ghost Rider being taken back. And Frank Castle was just like, it's not going to work on me because I don't feel any remorse for any of the people that I killed. I was just like, oh shit. Honestly, that right there is what made me fall in love with the Punisher even more. Because here he is staring this entity down in the face, known as the Ghost Rider, not afraid. And he basically just brushing his shoulders off. He's like, you go ahead and stare at me all you want. It ain't gonna work. Because to Frank Castle himself, he's doing the right thing. He's taking out the scums of the world. So why should I feel any remorse? You know, we could go ahead and we could play that game. You know, we could go back and forth in that. You know, whether it's right, whether it's wrong. But that scene was just phenomenal in the comics. And I really hope they go ahead and portray that in the movie. I really do. Well, I was also excited about when it came to the unveiling was finally getting another Eternals movie. Because again, I do think that the end all be all is Galactus, and the Celestials had a lot to do with Galactus. So Galactus is actually part of the old universe. And from the top of my head, I can't remember, but I think Galactus and the Celestials actually have some type of connection with one another. Like, I don't remember if Galactus himself was a Celestial, but he's basically part of the old universe, and the Celestial has always seen Galactus as a threat. And at the end of the first Eternals, you saw them being taken away by the Celestials, right? So it could be a possibility that the Celestials are basically letting them know, like, exactly what's going on. That Galactus might be coming back, and how much of a threat he actually is. So I'm really excited for the second Eternals movies to come out, because I think that's when you're going to start tying all the space stuff together. Because again, eventually, I think all the sides are eventually going to be tied together: the supernatural, the space, the earthly, like with Sam Wilson, the Avengers, the Guardians of the Galaxy. Because again, I really truly believe that Galactus is the end all be all when it comes to the MCU. So the Eternals is definitely one that I'm looking forward to, for sure. So knowing that Kevin Feige has movies planned through 2042, it's saying something. You know, that's the one thing about Kevin Feige that I will go ahead and say, is that he had a vision, and he has that vision playing out. Now, is there always going to be hits? No. I mean, granted, you know, there's been a few flops here and there. There might have been movies that individuals haven't enjoyed, but they were integral to telling the story and his vision. One that I hope he goes ahead and revisits, only because the series really went ahead and bombed, was the Inhumans. Because that series and that arc between the war between the Inhumans and the X-Men, the mutants, it was phenomenal. It really was. Now, are we going to go ahead and see that played out in the big screen? Probably not. I think what we might see is when the mutants being introduced. Oh, Glazer, thank you so much. I greatly appreciate that. And again, thank you so much for the love that you're showing. You know, I'm just out here starting off, and I'm just, over here giving my personal opinions on things that I truly enjoy. And that's just on the title of the Miscellaneous Show. I'll always be talking about different things. I'm really into anime, sports, baseball, basketball, obviously, Marvel. So sometimes, I'll talk about some other things, but obviously right now we're talking about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And even though the series for the Inhumans, like, oh, nice, cool, you play basketball? That's what's up. What position you go ahead and play? Go. When I played, I was basically a point guard. Sometimes even a center. Matter of fact, oh, you defend? Nice. All right, cool. I see you. Good. Do you have a favorite basketball team? For me, it's the San Antonio Spurs, and yeah, little heartbroken at the end of the day of them not winning that championship, but it is okay. Really, you're a Spurs fans too? Okay, that's what's up. High five. Let me tell you something right now. All my friends are Knicks fans, and let me tell you, they were getting on me. They really were. But I'm proud of my boys. Let's go ahead and just say what it is. I really didn't think that. I know. Being the only Spurs fan in a best friend group where everybody else is Knicks, it's pretty tough, but I didn't think the San Antonio Spurs were going to reach the NBA Finals this year. Like, I always knew that the team was coming together nicely and that eventually they would get to the NBA Finals. I feel like it came a lot sooner, for sure, and there's still a lot more room to go ahead and grow when it comes to the San Antonio Spurs. So we'll go ahead and see, what the next season. They did fight well. They did. Unfortunately though, you can tell that their inexperience and them being young was a main factor in that finals series, especially with a lot of the turnovers that they had, especially late in games, and obviously that game 4 collapse, being up 30 points and allowing the Knicks to come back. That had to be the most painful one. So there were plenty of times that the San Antonio Spurs could have been up 2-1, 3-1. But the inexperience got them. And you know what? Fine. That's okay. The Knicks won, and it'll take them another 52 years to win another championship. It's all good. They can have their moment right now. It is what it is. It is. But definitely looking forward to the NBA season coming up, especially with new faces and new areas like Giannis Antetokounmpo down in Miami right now. And I'm gonna tell you something right now. I did not see LeBron James going to Philadelphia. Absolutely not. That much I will go ahead and say. That was a plot twist of plot twists, without a doubt, hands down. But definitely looking forward to the start of the NBA season, and obviously looking forward to the second half of the baseball season as well, and see what happens at the trade deadline. So when it comes to baseball, Yankee fan all day, every day. If you actually look on my TikTok page, you'll see a lot of Yankee related memes, things of that nature for sure. But let's bring this conversation back to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I would love for Kevin Feige to go ahead and revisit the Inhumans. I think there's potential there. I really do. especially the potential between having a meeting between the Inhumans and the mutants. And what I'm interested to see within the Marvel Cinematic Universe itself, now with mutants being introduced, is there going to be worry within the world? Because even in a lot of the original X-Men movies and even in the comics, you always had people that didn't have the mutant genes against mutants because obviously they're terrified, they're scared of these supernatural power, these superpowers that they have and things of that nature. Which, that kind of goes ahead and makes sense because at the end of the day, people are always afraid of things that they don't understand. I mean, it's just it is what it is. It's a natural thing. So I would love for Kevin Feige to go ahead and actually introduce that concept. I mean, because they kind of already went ahead and introduced it with the whole alien invasion. Obviously, when the Avengers came together, obviously something that was unknown. But now you have something even more unknown when it comes to this mutant gene, and that in itself may go ahead and lead to an incursion and to the I'm drawing a blank right now. The Sentinels coming into play a little bit later on. So again, I think there's so much room, there's so much potential to really branch out within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And my best friend, he's a huge X-Men fan, right? And he keeps telling me, and I have to go ahead and watch it, but apparently the X-Men 97 that's on Disney Plus now on season 2, apparently is phenomenal. Now, I haven't gone ahead and actually seen it as of yet. He's telling me, Joey, you got to go ahead and watch this. Joey, you got to go ahead and watch it. Like, Joey, have you watched it? I'm just like, Los. No, I haven't. All right, Glazer. No worries. You catch me on that next live. Try to go ahead and be on a little bit more consistently and just look at it on my TikTok page, all right? But you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a good one, all right? Later. So, my friend Los always telling me, Joey, you got to watch X-Men 97. I'm just like, Los, don't worry. So now with the X-Men being introduced in the MCU and everything coming together, there's so many storylines that goes ahead and pops up that it can definitely go. And trust me, I'm looking forward to that mightily. I really am. Only thing in the back of my mind is who's going to go ahead and play Wolverine. That's the interesting concept now. Granted, I don't know in all actuality any of the younger actors out there currently. And now I could be like, haha, yes, you can play a phenomenal Wolverine. Like we always had. The one thing that I will say about fans that I enjoy so much is that we as fans know or feel who we think will play certain characters. Like, for example, Jason Momoa, right? People has always, as fan art, cast him as Lobo. And he looked phenomenal in the way that the fan art were created for him. And people and fans have always clamored for Jason Momoa to go ahead and be Lobo. And eventually, he ended up being Lobo in Supergirl. Phenomenal. Same thing. Go ahead, I'll say Ryan Gosling. That's the Ghost Rider, right? The one person that I've seen that fans have made into the Wolverine and they think would play a good Wolverine is Mr. Harry Potter himself, Daniel Radcliffe. Now, would Daniel Radcliffe actually entertain that? I don't know. I really don't, honestly. And here's the thing: I don't necessarily think that you need to get a young actor to play Wolverine. I really don't. Somewhere like in the middle age, and Daniel Radcliffe, I think, fits that bill. I think he's somewhere between like 35, 40. Maybe, matter of fact, let me go ahead and look it up right now. Let's see how old Daniel Radcliffe is. Let me see. Let's do this real quick. All right, let's see. He's 37. Okay, Daniel Radcliffe is 37. So you know what? To me, I think that's kind of like a good age. Because matter of fact, I think that might have been the age that Hugh Jackman was when he first put on the costume for Wolverine. So necessarily, I don't think you need a young actor, because we also need to remember that by the time Wolverine gets introduced into the X-Men, he's already been, I think he's almost 100 something years old, give or take, because he fought in the American Civil War, right? And so yeah, he got to be at least 150 years old, you know. So having somebody in that middle age between 35 to 40, even 45, to me is a perfect Wolverine at the end of the day. But I don't know right now, currently, who fits that bill, actor-wise, to play the Wolverine. Like, again, I know fan art-wise, many people have clamored for Daniel Radcliffe. Would he go ahead and do it? Who knows? Maybe he would. I just think right now he's just playing with Harry Potter money. At the end of the day, I mean, he made so many buku dollars off of that he's just taking on all these different crazy roles. Like, for example, I forgot what the name of the movie is, but basically he had two guns in his hands. You know what I mean? And he's just playing like these dumb roles. And that's perfectly cool. Because now he's probably just like, yo, I did my thing with Harry Potter, right? I'm just going to do whatever I want now. I'm going to take on the roles that I want. And like, hey, kudos to him. Matter of fact, somebody very similar that I'm extremely happy for, y'all, extremely happy for, is Robert Pattinson. Ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it, because I did not know that this dude was a phenomenal actor. And I'll be first with you, it's biased. It really is, because obviously the first time all of us were introduced to Robert Pattinson was in Twilight. And don't even fucking get me started on the Twilight movies. Please do not get me started on those damn Twilight movies. All right? Because I love the Monster Universe. I really do. And that's something that actually kind of pissed me off about the Universal Studios, is the simple fact that they can't create a good Monster Universe. But I'll go ahead and discuss that in a different show. All right, but let's go ahead and speak about Robert Pattinson in particular. All righty, because here's the thing: vampires do not sparkle. All right, ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The moment this dude stepped into the sunlight and he started fucking sparkling like a diamond, I lost it. I think every dude in the movie theaters that were forced to go watch it with their girlfriends or whoever they were trying to bang at the time, whatever the case may be, ended up fucking losing it. When this dude stepped into the sunlight, it was like, Bella, I have something to show you. And he started sparkling. I fucking lost my shit. Yo, I fucking lost my shit, because I grew up with like the Interview of Vampires, the Bram Stokers, John Carpenter type vampires. To go ahead and see this dude step into the sunlight and just start sparkling, I lost my shit. And then the werewolves weren't even werewolves. They were just big ass wolves. And my girlfriend at the time, who's not my wife now, was trying to tell me like, oh, you know, this concept has never been done about like this one falling in love with a vampire. I was like, I don't care. I don't. I really don't. Like, I grew up reading the Bram Stoker vampires. I love watching The Wolfman. That's what I remember. All right. Not this Twilight bullshit. So I'm happy for Robert Pattinson because I tied Robert Pattinson with Twilight way too much. I really did. I was just like, yo, you're not a good actor. But boy, was I totally wrong. He played a phenomenal Batman. Like, I know that Batman was pretty long, almost about 3 hours. But he was good. That Batman movie was good. I can't wait for that second one to come out. It just kind of sucks that Batman in particular is now part of the James Gunn universe that DC is rolling out. I hope they don't F that up. One thing I will say is I do trust James Gunn to create a phenomenal DC universe for sure. Man of Steel was awesome. I still haven't watched Supergirl. Gonna go ahead and make sure that I watch that one. You know, but kudos for real for Robert Pattinson to finally get out of the shadows when it comes to Twilight. And for me, I knew he was a good actor in the movie Remember Me. I mean, that scene was tragic towards the very end, knowing that basically he was in the Twin Towers in September 11th of 2001. And just bringing it into real life, I remember being young. When that happened, I had no concept of what happened. All I know is that I was young. We technically had a half a day. We were getting out of school early, not knowing why. But he did a phenomenal role. He did a phenomenal job in that role and Remember Me. And that's when I knew that Robert Pattinson was actually a good actor. And that Twilight was not the end-all be-all for Robert Pattinson like it was for Taylor Lautner. I would like to see Robert Pattinson, honestly, in the MCU. Who would he play? No idea. You know, I'm pretty sure that's something I could start cooking up in this old noodle of mine. But I think he would be a great addition to the MCU. Robert Pattinson, for sure. But we'll have to go ahead, wait and see. Well, I think this is a good time as any. It's been almost an hour plus that I've just been out here just spewing, talking. Started off with anime, the One Piece. Ended up going to the MCU. Then spoke a little bit about basketball. And then ended it back with Robert Pattinson and Twilight. That's the type of shit you're going to see and hear on the Miscellaneous Show. It's like Forrest Gump said. Life is like a box of chocolate. You never know what you're going to get. And on the Miscellaneous Show, you never know what I'm going to talk about. You just always know it's going to be one of those categories. Sports, books, anime, TV show, etc., etc. You just never know what you're going to get with me, Joey G, on the Miscellaneous Show. Thank y'all for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody.